Line is a record of action. Our eyes may move with a line as it is formed, or they may move along existing lines. Line is everywhere. The stripes on a tiger, his graceful movement, or things we may discover every day. By discovering line, we can increase our appreciation of both nature and art. Line is a visual adventure in space.
In our urban world, in the streets where we walk, in the buses we take, in the magazines we read, on walls, on screens, we are surrounded by images of an alternative way of life. We may remember or forget these images, but briefly we take them in, and for a moment they stimulate our imagination, either by way of memory or anticipation. But where is this other way of life? It's a language of words and images which calls out to us wherever we go, whatever we read, wherever we are. Publicity proposes to each of us in a consumer society that we change ourselves or our lives by buying something more. This more, publicity persuades us, will make us in some way richer, even though we will be poorer by having spent our money. And publicity persuades us of this transformation by showing us people who have apparently been transformed and are, as a result, enviable. This state of being envied is what constitutes glamour. And publicity is the process of manufacturing glamour. A publicity picture suggests that if we buy what it is offering, our life will be different from what it is. Scene after scene shows you this different life. Not only will our home be different, but all our relationships will become radiant because of our new possessions. But we can only achieve such radiance if we have money. And so publicity also works on our anxieties about money. Urging each of us to scramble competitively to get more. Making money appear as if it were itself magical. This may persuade a few people to use a bank credit system despite the very high rate of interest. But what is more important is that it promotes the illusion that a man's ability to consume is directly related to his sexual virility. According to the rules of the dream, those who do not have this power, those who lack glamour, become faceless, almost non-existent. Publicity both promises and threatens. It plays upon fear, often the fear of not being desirable, of being unenviable. It suggests that you are inadequate as you are, but it consoles you with the promise of a dream. What surrounds these posters? Oil paintings were surrounded by gold frames which symbolized the wealth of the owner within the picture and around it. What surrounds the publicity image is us as we are. The magical purchase, the buy which is meant to transform us but which excludes us as we now are, fills the gap between life as it is and life as we are told it might be. This false filling of the gap prevents us realizing how we might really begin to close that gap. Such a beginning would start with the struggle to take over the control of our own lives, political decisions instead of purchases.
Watercolor is a versatile medium for painting. Its most important characteristics are fluidity and transparency. How you paint with watercolor depends upon how you see the world around you and how you use the medium. These paintings by students show more of the many ways that watercolor can be used. Each of you, by experimenting and by learning about the medium, can find your own way of using watercolor.
The secret of the Buddhist view of life is to spend some time every day in which you don't think but just watch, in which you don't form any ideas about life, but look at it, listen to it, smell it, feel it. And then when you get rid of all the talk in your head, all the ideas about what I do as distinct from what happens to me, or what's the difference between man and nature, or between what's mine and what's yours. It all goes. And it's just the dancing pattern. What the Chinese call Li. A word that originally meant the markings in jade, the grain in wood, or like this, the patterns on water. But we can never put our finger on what it is that is order in nature. It isn't symmetry. Nature is hardly ever symmetrical. But something we can never define, like the ridges of those mountains, never quite put our finger on it. Is the order of nature, which always escapes exact definition. So when you let go of the definitions, of the attempt to try to pin down nature, to pin down life in your mind so that you can feel you're completely in control of it, that's all based on the idea that you're different from it and that you have to master it. When you don't pin it down anymore, you don't try to cling to it as if it was something different from you, then your whole life has about it the sensation of flowing like water. It always goes away, but it always comes back. Because away and back are two sides of the same thing. Let it go.